Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $24.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $24.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card.
Call 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more.
Call now, 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
I'm the sports professor, Rick Horrow, with Beyond the Scoreboard, a serious show that really doesn't take itself too seriously, especially here, live in Radio Row in downtown San Francisco, getting ready for Super Bowl 50. Super Bowl 50 breaks the tradition of Roman numerals. Thank God. I can't wait till Super Bowl 100. Phil Simms, the first Super Bowl MVP to shout, "I'm going to Disney World," after his Giants won Super Bowl 21. The now iconic commercial came with a $750,000 payday. How about this as a holiday? An estimated 1.5 million Americans will call in sick on the Monday after the Super Bowl, and another 4.4 million expected to show up late for work. Another trillion expected to show up lazy. 4 franchises never appeared in the Super Bowl: the Houston Texans, Jaguars, Lions, Cleveland Browns. The Lions and Browns won NFL championships before the Super Bowl was created. They may have to wait a long time. The bottom line of ads is amazing. YouTube has 1,600 years of ads from last year and 300,000 hours of ads during the game watched on the digital space, and digital seems to be the new world, especially for dollars. Buy a company that sells health food and health stuff, health beverages. None of this makes sense campaign. That's the name of their campaign. Yeah, $5 million for a 30-second spot. Certainly doesn't make sense. SoFi, a student loan refinancing and mortgage company, ramping up a $20 million TV digital ad effort with a spot during Super Bowl 50, 20% of its annual ad budget. The bottom line is this: it either makes or more likely breaks ad agencies, individuals, the one-stop shop, the big deal. Obviously, Anheuser-Busch, the king of it, which gets us to our tradition and our guests. We got Super Bowl specials today like we haven't had any other time. Jed York, the CEO of the Niners. Chip Berg, the CEO of Levi's. If you want jeans, here you go. Jed York, obviously the Niners guy and the Levi's Stadium guy. Keith Bruce, CEO and president, the Bay Area Super Bowl Host Committee. Tony Ponturo, the guy responsible for all of those Anheuser-Busch commercials years ago, and the former commissioner of the NFL for 17 years, Paul Tagliabue. Great show. Let's get to it. Rick Horrow, sports professor, Beyond the Scoreboard, Sports Byline, iHeart, tune in. Be back in just a couple of minutes.
I spent months searching the world over for the very best Nashville hot chicken recipe. Then I found it in the last place I ever expected, Nashville. KFC's new Nashville hot chicken. Crispy, hand-prepared chicken with a legendary blend of spicy and smoky flavor. You know, in hindsight, but I probably should have just started in Nashville. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Limited time offer. Pricing and participation may vary. Tax extra.
Sports Byline's library of more than 12,000 interviews is a treasure. I'm Ron Barr, and we want your help in protecting, sharing, and continuing to build this sports interview treasure. We've launched a GoFundMe campaign, so please go to sportsbyline.com/funding and donate so you can be a part of preserving and continuing to build this unique collection of sports interviews. Everyone who donates receives a link to a special commemorative collection of the Sports Byline interview library. Thank you for your support and help.
Are you wasting hundreds of dollars each year on contact lenses? Would you like to be able to see clearly again without reading glasses? Make the smart choice with IQ Laser Vision. Offering locations throughout California, Dr. Robert Lin and his staff at IQ Laser Vision have performed over 40,000 LASIK procedures. LASIK is also as affordable as your daily cup of coffee at less than $2 per day. See for yourself at IQLaserVision.com. That's IQLaserVision.com.
IQ Laser Vision.
I wish I could fall asleep.
Jennifer had a stressful day, and now her mind is spinning at bedtime.
I have a big day tomorrow.
It's time for new Unisom Sleep Minis. The tiny capsules are non-habit forming and work fast. They're the little help busy people need to get a good night's sleep and wake recharged.
Good night.
New Unisom Sleep Minis. A stressful day deserves a restful night. Use as directed. Active ingredient diphenhydramine hydrochloride.
This morning, Sandra Sneed wrote a joyful status. This miss is a soon-to-be Mrs. Over 300 friends liked her engagement post, and it got 76 comments. Sandra, you're one popular gal. Geico also has a comment on your status. Did you know you could save hundreds of dollars on your car insurance in just 15 minutes by switching to Geico? Just a way we're trying to help cushion a nice little nest egg for the future misses. Hashtag getting hitched. Hashtag savings.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
How long would you wait for your shower to get hot? How long would you wait for your cell phone to fully charge? How long would you wait to get relief from your nasal congestion? If you're congested now and you want powerful relief now, use Afrin No Drip. Afrin starts working in seconds and keeps working for 12 hours. So, why wait? When you can start to get relief in seconds with Afrin. Afrin, powerful congestion relief without the wait. Use as directed. For more information, go to Afrin.com.
Sports professor Rick Horrow beyond the scoreboard. Big-time panel. Jed York, CEO, San Francisco 49ers. Chip Bergh, President, CEO, Levi Strauss, the naming company. And Keith Bruce, President, CEO, San Francisco Bay Area Host Committee, talking about the Super Bowl, courtesy of our friends at CSN NBC. Really excited to welcome a super panel of our own. Jed York, CEO, San Francisco 49ers. Chip Bergh, President and CEO of Levi Strauss & Company. Doesn't get any bigger than that title. And Keith Bruce, longtime friend, CEO of Super Bowl 50 Host Committee. First thing, I've got a call from my third-grade teacher. She wants tickets. Who's coming up with those tickets for me? Anybody?
Watch the fingers.
There it is. There it is. I knew it. All right. Let's get better with this answer. How do you guys collectively, individually, make Super Bowl 50 different? What's the legacy? How do you define it, and how are you doing it?
I think the biggest thing is we wanted this to be the most philanthropic Super Bowl. I think that's something that's a piece of the Bay Area. You know, Daniel Lurie and Keith have really taken the charge in making sure that, you know, a big piece of what we raise for Super Bowl 50 is going back into the community. And so far, we've given out $7.5 million, and we expect to give over $12 million back to the community.
Legacy, Levi's legacy?
Well, you know, our name is over the door of the stadium, but we're trying to activate around that. So if you walk down to the NFL Experience right down the street from here, we've got the City Stage presented by Levi's, where all these concerts are taking place. We have a Levi's pop-up shop called the Levi's Lot, and we're trying to activate and really make the fan experience a holistic one for the entire week, including the game. I mean, we'll have 1.5 million visitors or so coming into the city from out of town. The stadium's going to seat 75,000 people for the game. So there are going to be a lot of people who are coming here for the experience, and we want them to have an amazing experience here in the city.
And Keith Bruce, when I first met you, you were 6'2", and now you're like 5'9". So, you know, I got your issue. But why this Super Bowl? Why is it so special from your perspective?
Well, first of all, it's the 50th, right? You know, when you turn 50, it's an important moment in the history of the league, and so it's a huge honor to host the milestone 50th Super Bowl. And from the beginning, we knew that we had an opportunity to redefine the way the Super Bowl was celebrated, and I think that's our journey, right? This is the culmination of a 2.5-year journey to get here, to redefine the way people celebrate the Super Bowl. It's been over 30 years since the Bay Area has hosted a Super Bowl, so it's a brand new era of the game, and it's grown up so much over the course of that period of time. And so for us, it's just so exciting for it to be here at our doorstep. You know, we're redefining it in so many ways. A 9-day free to the public fan village, Super Bowl City. We've got unbelievable technology. We've got our food and our wine. We've got our football. We've got our fashion. We've got our music. We've got everything going. Everything that the Bay Area is known for is on display at Super Bowl City.
Fashion, as he looks at the Levi's guy, that's really good. So Petaluma to the north, Los Gatos to the south, Half Moon Bay to the west, Livermore to the east. You got thousands of miles, of square miles. This is the biggest Super Bowl that people have had. Is it an opportunity for transportation disaster, or more appropriately, is an opportunity for consensus building?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing, watching the mayors all come together, starting with Mayor Matthews and Mayor Lee, reaching out to Mayor Liccardo and Mayor Schaaf and everybody in between, and pulling the Bay Area together. And that's what we've always talked about. This is the greatest region in the world. And if we work together, we're unstoppable.
Center of the universe.
This is about pulling together the very best of the Bay Area and showcasing it and celebrating it.
Yeah, and Keith, obviously for you, it's a Super Bowl host. You start an event in San Jose, it's kickoff a Super Bowl, and you've done a very good job of spreading all of these events around all these cities.
From the very beginning, we committed that this would be about the entire Bay Area. We went to the NFL and we said, let's call it the San Francisco Bay Area Super Bowl. They completely agreed. It's about the entire 9-county region. San Francisco kicked things off on Saturday. Santa Clara got into the act on Sunday. San Jose hosted Media Night on Monday. And so it's the entire region coming together to celebrate this historic event.
Niners questions for a couple of minutes. So everybody wants a Super Bowl. The NFL owner is usually the point of the spear to the NFL. They make the decision based on stadiums and other things, and it's hotly competitive. But yet the game serves a significant benefit way beyond the Niners' balance sheet. How do you reconcile it? Why do you do it?
Well, I mean, I think it's just an honor to be able to host the biggest game, and obviously Super Bowl 50, the golden anniversary in the Golden State. We're able to look back at the first 49, and I think the Bay Area has always looked forward. And I think this is the leaping off point for the next generation of the National Football League. And like Keith said, bringing it back to the Bay Area for the first time in over 30 years.
And it helps you, too, right? The Niners, 69% increase in value, according to Forbes, and 160% increase in the premium suite and seat areas for you, too, as long as you have a competitive team on the field, right?
That's not why we're doing this.
Yeah, right.
We're doing this because we want to make sure that we're great partners to the NFL, and we want to make sure that we do what's right for our community. And in terms of where we are in competitiveness, I think you know what my standards are on the field, and we'll get back there.
And you'll get there. Is it a hex, a curse, or a coincidence that no Super Bowl team has hosted a game in their own home stadium?
So I understand own home stadium, but when you go back to the last Super Bowl that was here, I think that's the closest. And, when you look at what my uncle built as I think the greatest owner in the history of the National Football League, and Coach Walsh and those teams, they're the only ones that have done it in their home market.
Fair.
And, we all got our fingers crossed that Eddie's going to make it to Canton this weekend.
Fair and should. And I'm a Dolphin fan, so I remember definitely who won that game. There is no doubt about that. Very clear. So from a Levi's perspective, did your predecessors in 1853, when you moved from Bavaria to 90 Sacramento Street, realize that those years later you were going to have a name on a $1.2 billion stadium? How do you feel?
Well, one of the things our predecessors had was this lifeblood of innovation. We created the blue jean with a patented, riveted first blue jean, and we've been innovating ever since. I don't think anybody expected that Levi's would have done a stadium. When we announced the deal back in May of 2013, I think everybody was surprised. But if you think about it, it makes total sense. You go to a football game or a concert or WrestleMania or whatever happens to be there wearing a pair of jeans. And so it was just one more notch of innovation for us as a company.
So it's May 8, 2013, and you're committing to $220.3 million over a 20-year period, $11 million a year.
Don't forget the .3.
The .3 is very important, right? That's really important.
220.
Yeah, well, so, a rounding error. What's a .3 among friends? So are you nervous that day? Is it a great day? What's your reaction to this commitment?
It was a huge day. It was a huge day for us as a company. I think it was a huge day for the city of San Francisco. We talked about this as being a perfect fit, no pun intended. No. But, two iconic San Francisco brands coming together. And I knew that this was going to be a great investment for us as a company, and it's already proven to be. If you think about it, one 30-second spot in the Super Bowl this year is going for $5 million. We've got the whole stadium for, on average, $11 million a year. And
189 countries, you were saying, watching the Super Bowl.
And 189 countries watching the Super Bowl this year. That's right. So
and the opportunity to work with these two guys is priceless.
That's icing on the cake.
Priceless.
That's the best part of the deal, actually.
Obviously. So you, and I've known you for a long time, so 14 of the last 15 Super Bowls you've been involved, World Cups, Final Fours with your company. Biggest similarities and biggest differences from those experiences and what you're doing today?
I think one similarity is how the Super Bowl has become an international phenomenon. I mean, 189 countries watching the Super Bowl. That didn't happen 10 years ago. The game is going global. It increases in popularity in the international marketplace. And so that's where there are a lot of similarities. So taking some of the things that work really well at an Olympic Games execution or FIFA World Cup and bringing that into this 50th Super Bowl, particularly in an international market like the Bay Area, where they're more receptive to that kind of thinking in terms of the way we handle transportation or the way our fan experiences play out for the audiences or the types of partners and sponsors that we attract as a result of it. So it really is kind of a new breed of the way Super Bowl can be presented with more of an international voice to it. I think the differences are the Super Bowl takes on the personality of the region that hosts it. And in this case, we are a distinctly Bay Area Super Bowl. We will not, no offense, we will not be a Miami Super Bowl. We will not be a New Orleans Super Bowl. We'll have, it'll feel like us. And that's been my mission since day one of working with the committee and building a great team that's solely focused on making the Bay Area proud. We'll be on the world stage. We want it back every 5 or 6 years. We do not intend this to be a one and done. I know these two guys to my right are great partners in that endeavor. And, you know, again, we couldn't do this without the 49ers and their commitment to build Levi's Stadium because if you don't have a great stadium, a world-class facility, you're not going to have a Super Bowl.
Thanks very much to all of you guys. Really appreciate it.
You'll hear more from Chip Bergh next week in full. Why he made the decision to spend $11 million on naming Levi's Stadium. We'll be back in a minute with Tony Pontoro of Anheuser-Busch.
Attention catheter users. Stop reusing dirty catheters. Catheters are now disposable. Recent changes in Medicare now allow patients up to 200 disposable catheters a month, all at little or no cost to you. We bill Medicare. Put an end to the mess and risk of infection by using old catheters. Just use a catheter once and throw it away. Eliminate trips to the pharmacy and insurance paperwork. Shipping is free. Receive a free catheter sample by calling and joining Medical Direct Club right now. Call 1-800-399-9018 to receive your free catheter sample discreetly delivered right to your door. That's 1-800-399-9018. 1-800-399-9018. Call 1-800-399-9018 today. Deductibles and copays apply. Free catheter samples require qualified membership. Sample will arrive with 90-day order.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-480-5708. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-480-5708. That's 800-480-5708. Again, 800-480-5708.
This family is at home, but they won't be answering the door. They know that the pounding on the door is a process server from the court waiting to hand them foreclosure documents. So instead of enjoying the home they worked so hard to afford, they sit hiding in the dark.
Mom, what was that?
But it doesn't have to be this way. This family can save their home, but they must act fast. Call Allied State Foreclosure Solutions at 800-274-7312. If you're being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, missed a payment on your mortgage, been a victim of a predatory loan, or are upside down on your home, it's critical that you call Allied State Foreclosure Solutions now. 800-274-7312. Allied State Foreclosure Solutions has an attorney in your area that will meet and speak with you. You can stop the foreclosure foreclosure process, lower your monthly mortgage payments, save your home and your credit. But you must act now. Call 800-274-7312. 800-274-7312. Not available in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson.
Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard. I'm Rick Horrow. Tony Ponturo spent 26 years at Anheuser-Busch serving as VP of Global Media, Sports, and Entertainment Marketing for 17 of those years. We figured that he placed about $13 billion of ads, and he single-handedly did the Budweiser Frog and some other stuff. He's also on Broadway now as the producer of Lombardi, Magic Bird, Bronx Bombers, and otherwise. Tony Ponturo. Rick Horrow with Tony Ponturo, the CEO of Ponturo Management, but more important than that, probably 26 years at Anheuser-Busch, an icon in the sports space, involved in more sports sponsorships than anybody alive. How's that? Is that right? Is that about accurate, Tony Ponturo?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
It sounds like somebody else, not me, but I'll take it.
Well, but you'll take it because it really is true. And Anheuser-Busch, when you began there, was emerging in the whole sports sponsorship world. But really, when the landscape started there years ago, was the attitude that sports sponsorships, being involved in sports, would drive the business in some context? How did it grow from where you started to that prolific machine?
Well, the interesting thing, I started at the end of '82, so before L.A. Olympics in '84, and I'm not even sure the term sports marketing was there. There were two different words. I'm not sure they were ever put together. Anheuser-Busch had 22 market share. Miller had 22 market share, owned by Philip Morris. And there was, okay, who's going to fight their way to the top? And August Busch III took over as CEO and said, okay, where does the beer consumer spend time? You know, today's world of analytics, you could go do a lot of research, but it was pretty instinctual to say, okay, sports, let's go own sports. But really, let's go talk to the beer consumer. I left in 2008. We had 50 market share, and Miller had like 19, and Coors had 10. So we were given the assets, and we were given the empowerment and challenge to go be a voice in sports, and it worked.
And when you say given the assets and the empowerment, you really were. I mean, when you think of the Super Bowl ads and NASCAR, give the listeners some sense of the diversity and the dollars attached to all those assets.
Well, I don't think any other sponsor, even today, touched as many sports. There's almost not a sport we didn't touch in the United States. So we were official beers of NFL and Major League Baseball and NBA and NHL, MLS when it first started, NASCAR. And then when Bud Light came out in 1985, which is now the number one beer brand in the United States, 1985 it started. It's like, okay, how can we be different? How can we be younger, lifestyle? And then we went and did beach volleyball. We went to a crazy bull rider named he actually came to us, Tuff Hedeman, and said, the most interesting thing about rodeo is the bull riding. Let's do bull riding. That became the Bud Light Bull Riding Series, which has now become a very big deal. You know, we did surfing. We did all this other kind of activity. So we just kept expanding. You know, then it was Olympics. Then it was World Cup. We were doing World Cup back in 1988 when we barely had any international business, but it was starting to build the platform.
Volume, we talked about this before, 14 billion, 13 billion? You've never probably added it up, but is it somewhere in that neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, over time it grew, but probably on average it was 500 to 700 million a year. And to this day, I feel strongly that to the credit of our management and August Busch III, he really let us do our job. You know, we were unique. We had the business in-house. God bless the advertising agencies who did great creative. But the business side, he wanted to trust the people that he was saying, here's an Anheuser-Busch paycheck, now don't screw it up. He gave us space, and we always knew. You know, we were never under contract. I always loved to hear some of my peers say, I have a 3-year contract. I said, I have like a 3-minute contract, because the minute you lost trust, you knew, just keep walking. Don't come back after that cup of coffee. But if you earn that trust, then he lets you stay out of the way. And it reminds me, and you know, I did a play later on Vince Lombardi. And what I always felt was important about Lombardi, he went to Green Bay with that board of directors and said, I'm the coach, I'm the GM, let me do my job. And he won 5 out of 7 championships. So I'm a big proponent of get the right people, let them do their job, and don't fiddle.
Let's talk about process and how you allocated and made decisions off that $14 billion. Gone are the days where the CEO plays golf with somebody and says, hey, that's great, let's attach a sponsorship. How is that whole ROI decision made, and how has it evolved?
Well, we really thought we brought logic to it, because in those days, take teams. Yeah. They were like, okay, we have a stadium. Well, there weren't signs. You go back to the 80s, there weren't signs like we see today in outfield or in ice or dasher boards. But the team would say, well, you're the beer. If you want to be exclusive, it'll cost you $1 million or more. It's like, well, how did you come to that? Well, that sounds like a nice round number. Right. Well, let's build some logic. Let's build a platform. We only get to $500,000. Now, it's not so much the money, although you always want to save the corporation money, but find me value for that other $500. And we had our own formulas and our own basis of comparison and said, well, what about a sign in left field that gets TV exposure? Or what about, a banner on the stanchion? So a lot of this stuff came out of the conversation of a team wanting money and then trying to figure out the assets that they had that they weren't necessarily always clear they had. I remember we once had a presentation from someone out in L.A. with the Lakers who gave us all the height and weight of all the players, and that was going to make it a good sponsorship because they would be a good team. Well, they probably were a good team, but that wasn't the logic we needed to do a sponsorship.
If you had $1 to spend on an endorser, television ad, a sponsorship, or a logo on a jersey, let's say, where would you spend the buck?
I think the first buck in sports is local. I think sports is very much local. It's your team. It's your passion. And to be honest, when we woke up in 1982, we found out that Miller had all the national properties. Keep in mind, back then there was only Budweiser, Michelob, and Busch. All these other brands didn't exist. And we went after local.
Super Bowl time, Super Bowl 50. How did you feel the first time you walked into your boss's office? You're supposed to earn the trust. And the ads were $500,000. Today they're $5 million for a 30-second spot. And we're going to buy 20 of them. How do you feel about that?
Well, it was interesting because we went to NBC. Dick Ebersol was there, who's still around, but a gentleman by the name of Art Watson, who was a great leader in sports, and said, we want to be the only beer in your Super Bowl. And that created something called the Bud Bowl, for those that are old enough to remember that, which was Budweiser and Bud Light playing against each other. And we created our own game within a game. Why did we do that? One is we wanted to give Bud Light exposure. Keep in mind, Bud Light was, at that point, maybe only 3 years old, and create an event and create retail displays in the market. And then I think they sat there and said, well, how done can Anheuser-Busch be? We're going to say 5 minutes of advertising, and we said done. Oversimplifying, but it was, let's own this day. And we didn't let go to this day, even with the new ownership.
Did you do the frogs, the Budweiser frogs, you personally? Did you do it sober? Were you sitting in a room? How did you do the Budweiser frog?
Well,
the greatest campaign of all time.
The credit, and I need to say is that between frogs and even I Love You Man and What's Up, you can imagine going to boards. And you can picture the movie scene with the crusty board saying, we want to say Budweiser, and you can leave now. But again, it was a credit to the company to say, okay, we're going to trust you. Let's see. And the one thing we learned about particularly the Super Bowl, but we had learned is what's that one common denominator about most things? It's a sense of humor and fun. And so we brought fun to these things.
Predict ahead 10 years from now. What's the future of corporate participation in sports, broadly defined? Partnership, ownership, streaming. I mean, give us some general perspective on that.
Well, the one thing, and maybe this is maybe too Pollyanna, if that's the right word, is more and more social responsibility is being talked about today. I'm doing some work at NYU. I teach a class on leadership. And I would love to see some of this money and this voice, most importantly, the voice of sports, which is so impactful, do some good. For example, if Stan Kroenke, none of us know, leaves to go to Los Angeles after 20 years in St. Louis, and the St. Louis community, for all intents and purposes, supported it, right? And he has to pay $550 million to the owners. Why not leave some of that behind in the community? How powerful would that be to say, we're going to leave $50 to $100 million back in St. Louis to say thank you? those are the kind of things from a social standpoint I would like to see. The other thing is, and we're watching everyone do it, from Reuters to ESPN to whatever, is everyone's trying to catch us on the run. You know, it's like, we're going to get it to you whether you're standing on 42nd Street and 7th Avenue or you're sitting in your living room, but we're going to get that content to you.
Really interesting perspective. So I guess finally, Broadcasting and Cable Hall of Fame in 2010, Lifetime Innovator Award. You're huge. What are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of is that I feel I was known, but I also feel our company was known for doing it the right way, for doing it up front and honestly, and having the trust of the community. And the best way I understood that, even though I felt I understood it at the time, was when I did leave and I didn't have the $500 or $700 million, and I walked into Roger Goodell's office and said, I need your NFL Shield and your Lombardi Super Bowl trophy to promote Lombardi. And he said, okay, I'm going to trust you. Now, and for what, yes, there was a licensing fee, but all relative. That's trust, and that's what you've earned every day. So as I teach my students down at NYU, it's you're a brand. You're a brand, I'm a brand. You know, how you present yourself every day will continue with you. And that's ultimately that's what I'm most proud of.
Probably one of the most amazing brands in the business. Tony Pantoro, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to Tony. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with the former commissioner of the NFL, Paul Tagliabue.
You know that non-bank private equity business loans are not for every business. However, billions of dollars have already funded across this greatest nation on God's green earth. This is Michael Medved for BusinessLoansNow.com, where they focus mostly on monthly cash flow and not personal credit. If your business could use funding in less than 48 hours, I encourage you to visit BusinessLoansNow.com to find out how much your business could qualify to get.
Helping your business is what we do. BusinessLoansNow.com.
Are you wasting hundreds of dollars each year on contact lenses? Would you like to see clearly again without reading glasses? LASIK treats only the surface of the eye and is healthier and safer than wearing contact lenses long term. Dr. Robert Lin had LASIK himself and still sees 20/20 and has performed over 40,000 LASIK procedures over the last 18 years. Find out more at IQLaserVision.com. That's IQLaserVision.com.
IQ Laser Vision.
I just feel like something's missing.
I know. What we had was so big.
And warm and bright.
And yellow.
Oh, I really miss the sun.
No sun? No problem. Centrum, the most trusted multivitamins, now have more of the vitamin D3 you need. Get the vitamin D you could be missing this winter with Centrum multivitamins. Now our highest level of D3 ever.
There are times being a genius would really come in handy.
This is Houston. Your oxygen levels will be depleted unless you put the valve modulator into the auxiliary gauge after you have calibrated the flexternal matrix, not the external matrix. Do not touch that one.
I'm just the cook.
But thankfully, you don't need to be a genius to do your own taxes. Because with TurboTax, you can snap a photo of your W-2 with your smartphone, and it will automatically put your information into all the right forms. Intuit TurboTax. Taxes done smarter.
The new year means incredible new deals at Lumber Liquidators, and that means huge savings on the gorgeous hardwood floor you've always wanted. Choose from more than 400 top-quality floors and the latest styles, like the classic look of oak. This week, get pre-finished oak from just 99 cents. That's 50% off. Or get the hottest looks in whitewashed flooring. Our new Aspen Breeze white oak laminate is now an unbeatable $189. For a limited time, get 20% off beautiful wood look tile packages. Great deals on all engineered hardwood, and more from just 59 cents. Plus, get special financing. These deals won't last. Visit lumberliquidators.com to find a store near you.
At Discover, we believe anniversaries should be a time of celebration, not obligation. That's why we think annual fees are ridiculous. And now, just for giving us a try, we're going to give new card members a one-year anniversary gift they'll never forget. At the end of your first year, we'll take all the cash back you've earned, then match it dollar for dollar. No caps and no catches. Because we know if you try us, you'll like us. And that's worth every penny. Try it and believe it at discover.com/double. Anniversary double cashback offer only for new card members. Limitations apply.
I'm the sports professor Rick Horrow with Beyond the Scoreboard on Johnny Manziel. Well, he's not had the smoothest ride in his short-lived NFL career, and whether taking on an impromptu trip to Vegas, skipping a mandatory team meeting, or causing an on-field issue, some new sort of trouble always surrounds Johnny football. Maybe we call him Johnny Self-Important. Last week, LeBron James' marketing agency, LRMR, publicly announced enough is enough. It'll no longer work with the maligned Browns quarterback. Manziel, sidelined due to NFL's concussion protocol, missed a mandatory team meeting Sunday and was not at the stadium for the Browns season finale against Pittsburgh last week. Fenway Sports Management assisted LRMR with Manziel's marketing efforts, also decided to part ways with him. What the future holds for Manziel is unclear, but this much is not. He needs to get his off-field issues figured out if he ever wants to be a franchise quarterback. I'm the sports professor Rick Horrow, and that's Beyond the Scoreboard. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard. I'm the sports professor, Rick Horrow. Paul Tagliabue, the former commissioner of the NFL, 1989 to 2006, previously served as a lawyer for the league, chairman of the board of directors at Georgetown from 2008 to 15. He played basketball at Georgetown and captain of the 61-62 team, graduated NYU School of Law in 65, has a lot of perspective on the Super Bowl and the NFL. Commissioner Paul Tagliabue.
Thanks for being with us.
Doing very well, thank you.
Congratulations, by the way, first, for your appointment to the Knight Commission on Intercollegiate Athletics. Obviously, a big honor that you should be very proud of.
Well, it's an important thing that they're addressing college sports and academics, so I'm pleased to be part of it.
So I'm walking through the NFL Experience yesterday, by the way, one of your creations, and I stumble on the Paul Tagliabue wing of the Hall of Fame exhibit. I got a cell phone picture of it right here. Did you know you have a wing named after you?
No, but I'm glad to know it's there. I hope it's for kids.
The revenue, the stability, the labor peace, all very important to the history and growth of the NFL. Tell us what you're personally most proud of.
Well, I think it would be the agreement with the Players Association that brought stability and brought a good, productive relationship for the game, you know, after 10 years of combat during the 80s.
All right, my friend, you have a magic wand. You can reverse anything you did during your tenure. What, in hindsight, might you have done differently?
Well, I think we would have kept more teams where they were. We would have had a little less team movement. You're still seeing the aftermath of the Raiders and Rams moving out of L.A. with the recent decision, for the Rams to go back to the L.A. area. So, I think if we didn't anticipate an issue, it was that issue. We should have been ahead of the curve, not behind it.
You've had so many accomplishments. Tell us specifically what was the hardest to do. Leading Georgetown in scoring and rebounding when you were their top center in 1961, promoting and sustaining labor peace, or getting your 32 bosses, the owners, to agree on anything.
Well, I think the hardest thing is to, strike the right balance between tradition and change, continuity and change, tradition and innovation. Those things are those are the difficult issues, and that's one of the issues we had with the Super Bowl. How much should it change? How much should it remain the same? But I think when you have something that's successful for so long as the NFL, you have to be open to innovation, but you can't throw away the traditions that make it great.
All right, let's segue into the Super Bowl specifically. 1989, first Super Bowl season with you as a commissioner. Reflect back on what it was like then and how it's changed now.
Well, I think it was coming out of the decade of the 80s, the Super Bowl had suffered, as had a number of things, from the strike in 82, the players' strike in 82, which had canceled, I think, 7 games, the replacement game, so-called, in 1987. It was a period of instability. There was a lot of litigation. And, Pete Rozelle was the first to tell me that they'd lost some focus on the game itself, and that included the Super Bowl. So we had to understand that the Super Bowl is just a piece of a larger, what I call an ecosystem. It's one piece of a big puzzle. We had to get a lot of the pieces together in a new way, and that's what we did.
Super Bowls are all about defining moments in America's culture. Choose one. Was it 91 after the Iraq War when you chose to play in Tampa? Was it 93 when you moved the game from Phoenix to Pasadena over the Martin Luther King holiday issue? Or was it the wardrobe malfunction or a combination?
It was a combination of all those games. Plus the game after 9/11, where the Patriots, where we had to move the game in New Orleans, and the Patriots won. Or it was another game involving New Orleans, the Saints win in 2010, which showed that the city of New Orleans was back after Hurricane Katrina. So there were lots of great moments of the Super Bowl in my 17 years and many years before that.
When you took over for Pete Rozelle in 1989, did you ever think that the cost of a ticket would be $14 grand a seat and that over 1.5 million workers would call in sick the day after the Super Bowl? You created a monster.
Well, I think that most of all the players and the coaches create the monster because they're the ones who create the extraordinary entertainment that the Super Bowl is. You know, it's the greatest show on earth, and it seems like the last 10, 15 years have been phenomenal in terms of the competitiveness of the games and the upsets, like the Giants win over the Patriots if the Patriots went undefeated. So it's the drama of the game and the talent of the players that account for the $13,000 ticket.
You talk about the game domestically, but what about the growth of the international game? And the Super Bowl is the tip of the spear around Europe, Africa, Asia, everywhere. Define where NFL International is going.
Well, I think that's been very successful in London, obviously, and I think it can be successful in other parts of Europe as well, including Germany, first and foremost. I think Mexico is an area where the league has already got a great following. And, you know, I was in New Zealand and Australia for 2 weeks, just got back. And I was amazed. The last hotel I stayed at in New Zealand, the guy who was showing me around the city was a huge NFL fan. And he talked more about the Super Bowl than I have in the last 6 months, because he was naming the MVP from most of the games of the last 10 or 15 years. This was a fellow who had grown up in the Polynesian Islands and knew all about some of those great players from Samoa, but he knew just as much about the Super Bowl MVPs like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
We know how big the Super Bowl is. How much bigger can it get? Is it too big now, and is it growing to be too big?
Well, I don't think it's gotten too big. I think the nation gets bigger and bigger. We have almost 350 million people now. That's a lot more than we had when the Super Bowl I was played. And the audience, as I said, it's not just about sports. It's about life. It's about upsets, and it's about surprises. But most of all, it's about competing at an extraordinary level and succeeding. So I don't think it can get too big. The key is to make sure that the focus remains on the game, and that's what Roger Goodell and the others have done so well in recent years.
Let's talk about your trip to Super Bowl venue every year. Get there 8 days, 9 days earlier. Your staff basically has all the work done. Do you see your trip as a vacation, a coronation, or a week of crisis management?
Well, I tried to view it as a week of community engagement. I thought that what the community expects, what the fans expect, is for the commissioner and other league representatives to be involved in the host city. The host city puts so much energy, effort, so many resources, so much volunteerism into the game. I used to feel that my main responsibility Super Bowl week was to pay attention to the local fans, the local volunteer leaders, and local community organizations. And we did that for all 17 years that I was commissioner.
You get to a town, what's the one thing you most worried about every single year?
Well, you worry in this environment about security. You worry about injuries to the players. You worry about the weather. But I think mostly today it's about the health and safety of the players and the health and safety of the fans, which translates itself to security.
Super Bowl 50 only comes along once. Define the special legacy and nature of Super Bowl 50 for the Bay Area and the league.
Well, it's a great opportunity to celebrate something that is an annual, it is a midwinter national holiday, but just as important, it is the crowning moment of extraordinary athletic competition. And, there was a great game in San Francisco. I was there in Stanford Stadium. And the 49ers, of course, were one of the teams that defined the 50 years of Super Bowl history. So for the 49ers in the Bay Area to host this game, I think makes a lot of sense. And I think they'll do a fabulous job as hosts.
Where are you watching the game?
I'm watching it at home in Washington, D.C.
Who's going to win?
Can't tell you that. I was at the last one with Denver and Seattle. I thought it was going to be a close game. It turned out that it wasn't. But I think this one will be. But I can't tell you who's going to win. It's the new fabulous quarterback against the older fabulous quarterback. And but it turns on so much other than the quarterbacks. And we saw that in the conference championship games. The defenses are obviously critical. But I'll leave the picking the winners to the sports writers who know more about football than I do.
Ambassador, statesman, great lawyer, friend, defined the NFL for 17 years, and obviously, based on that answer, a master politician. Paul Tagliabue, thanks for stopping by.
Back with Bust, Boom, and Hope in just a minute. Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard. I'm the sports professor Rick Horrow with Beyond the Scoreboard, MLB, and China. As professional sports leagues continue to expand their reach internationally by bringing talent and money back to the domestic market, MLB is trying to further tap into China. Late last week, MLB announced a wide-ranging 3-year deal with Chinese media and technology outfit Les Sports. Under terms of the new agreement, the company holds exclusive media rights in China to broadcast 125 MLB games per season, including 4 regular season games per week, 20 postseason games, all World Series games, and the All-Star Game, along with Mandarin language MLB programming. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred discussed the new deal at CES Las Vegas. Quote, "We want to weave baseball into the fabric of China's culture," Manfred said. "We need to work with local partners to make it relevant." Millions of potential fans are gearing up to see their first live-streamed MLB game. I'm the sports professor Rick Horrow, and that's Beyond the Scoreboard.
Are you an inventor who would like to try to have an invention or idea patented and submitted to companies, but you don't know what to do next? Call for free information from InventHelp. InventHelp, a leading inventor service company, has been helping inventors since 1984 and has sales offices located in more than 60 cities nationwide. You'll want to talk to the company that has helped secure more than 7,000 invention patents. So call InventHelp. Even if you have an idea for improving an existing product and don't know where to go with it, you'll still want to call InventHelp for free information. You'll find out how InventHelp may assist you in trying to patent your invention and submit it to companies. So call now.
Call InventHelp at 1-800-316-1738. That's 1-800-316-1738. Get your free information by dialing 1-800-316-1738. That's 1-800-316-1738. 1-800-316-1738. Are you a business owner or an individual who owes the IRS? Then be prepared to write down an important phone number. Do you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes? Do you need to file back tax returns? Are you dealing with bank levies and wage garnishments? It's time to deal with your IRS problem today. Call Certified Tax Representation now. Certified Tax Representation, Inc. represents clients just like you in all 50 states. They will contact the IRS on your behalf the same day that you become a client, and you can become a client immediately. It's time for you to face your IRS problems. Think about how great you're going to feel when you're represented by a company who's an advocate for you, who knows the law, who also will contact the IRS the same day you become a client. Call today for your free, no-obligation consultation. Call now, 1-800-999-1064. That's 1-800-999-1064. Not all cases are typical, and some may not qualify. The consultation is free, and so is the call, so call right now. 1-800-999-1064. That's 1-800-999-1064.
When you struggle with credit card bills every month, you're not just in debt. Debt is all around you.
I see people every day that are on the brink. They're going to go over the edge, and at the bottom is bankruptcy, and we pull them back.
At the Debt Helpline, we're experts at helping you resolve your debt problems and become free of debt. We can help you pay off your debt and give you one lower monthly payment that you can afford.
You do get to consolidate your payments. You only have to worry about making one payment a month instead of making 3 or 4 or 5.
If you have $5,000, $10,000 or more in credit card bills, call the Debt Helpline now for a free confidential debt analysis.
800-957-6063. 800-957-6063. Call the CESI Debt Helpline right now for a free confidential debt review. 800-957-6063. 800-957-6063.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, the serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously, live from Radio Row in downtown San Francisco, getting ready for the frenzy that is Super Bowl 50. The week of economic impact is already near $500 million for this region, a rousing success. The weather looks pretty good, too. Let's talk about Bust, Boom, and Hope, our weekly segment on the bad, the good, and the hopeful in the economy from a business perspective. First, bust. Dateline San Diego. Torrey Pines may have altered the famous landscape for the foreseeable future, the rough patch of storms. 20 trees fell on Torrey's north and south courses, forcing final round delay. Most troublesome was the 75-foot-tall eucalyptus that fell into the fairway at the par 4 15th. The tree not a major factor in the playability of the hole. And after the Sunday storm, fans not allowed on the course for the delayed final round. Ratings and gate important for the tour, but fan safety is paramount, and I'd rather have a tree that falls on the ground. Maybe I can get my 7-iron over that as opposed to the 75-foot eucalyptus tree. Boom. How about this in the economy? Dunkin' Donuts signs a deal to become the official coffee shop of USA Hockey and the U.S. women's national team, piggybacking on the sponsorship it signed with the National Women's Hockey League in December. The new deal set to last through the 2018 Olympic Games and help cement Dunkin's relationship with women's hockey. They'll begin social and digital marketing, the company will, during this season, and plans to launch a more fully fleshed-out campaign this fall. The sponsorship Dunkin signed will help them reach 4 core markets. They're big ones: Buffalo, Boston, New York, and Connecticut. The national extension only deepens that reach. Good for them. And finally, Hope. Company called Globecast introduces Ultra HD into the Vatican. Media management leader, one of the official partners of Vatican TV, for the production and transmission of the Holy Door opening ceremony in St. Peter. Pope Francis, in turn, announced that he's making sports a focus of his papacy's third global initiative on education. The conference on October 5 through 7, called Sports at the Service of Humanity, in the 3-day event features all aspects of global innovation. 150 of the world's sports, religious, and government leaders. And the bottom line is presenting sponsorships for the Vatican, about $1.8 million each. And it's clear all 21st century initiatives require sophisticated 21st century media, Globecast, and marketing sponsorships. That'll do it for us at the Super Bowl. We'd like to thank Jed York, Chip Berg, Keith Bruce, Tony Ponturo, Commissioner Paul Tagliabue. Look at us, look for us at iHeart, TuneIn, and obviously Sports Byline. Next week, we head into the All-Star game in the NBA, and otherwise, once again, we go beyond the scoreboard.
If you missed something from today's show, you can find it now on iHeartRadio Talk. That's iHeartRadio.com/talk.